Hey film fans! Welcome to CinePro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps, from heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters. Our film begins with a German family consisting of 4 members. The father's name is John, the mother's name is Esther, and they have 2 children, Philip and Alba. We learn that John is a scientist conducting a lot of research, while Esther runs her family's business and owns a very large company. It becomes clear that they are a very wealthy family, heading to spend their summer vacation at Esther's family villa in France. They have a driver to take them to the house. On the way, they are surprised by a violent protest, which frightens the children, especially Alba, who is very young. She asks her parents if they are in danger, but her father John reassures her that no one would think of harming them since they are not involved in the issue. He also mentions that the car windows are bulletproof, so nothing can happen to them. Nevertheless, the whole family remains tense except for Philip, who takes out his phone to document what is happening. John becomes curious about the reason for the protest and asks the driver, who explains that it is due to the high cost of living, with people demanding higher wages. Esther, however, is more concerned with reaching their destination quickly, so she starts looking for any alternative route. She finds a side road that could get them there faster and gives the phone to the driver to check the location, but he refuses to take that route. The situation remains as it is for a long time until the police intervene and disperse the protest. The family continues their journey safely until they reach the villa. They decide not to waste any time during their vacation and immediately head to the swimming pool. We see Philip and John deciding to have a race to see who can swim faster, while Esther relaxes and her daughter Alba offers to apply sunscreen for her. Esther refuses, saying she will remain in the shade. Alba then goes to watch her father and brother racing, with Philip emerging as the winner. Afterward, everyone heads to their rooms, and Esther notices that John deliberately slowed down to let their son win. He explains that Philip is growing up and will soon win on his own merit. At this moment, Esther receives a call from work but refuses to answer, stating that she intends to enjoy the vacation with her family as promised. Later, Esther decides they should go out for dinner, so she calls to book a table for 4 at a private restaurant in a hotel. At the hotel, we see a group of young workers who are very close friends. They have a habit of snooping through guests' belongings while cleaning the rooms and taking their time in the process. While cleaning one of the rooms, a new family arrives at the hotel, and the workers start observing them from afar. One of the workers, named Theodora, comments that the family doesn't look very wealthy. That evening, John's family arrives at the restaurant for dinner. Alba, who is skilled at magic tricks, entertains them. Although they understand how she performs the tricks, they pretend to be amazed. Midway through dinner, Esther excuses herself to go to the restroom, where she secretly answers a work call without upsetting her family. It becomes evident that she has significant work-related issues causing her stress. Theodora happens to be in the restroom and overhears Esther's conversation. After returning to her family, the waitress offers them complimentary drinks on behalf of the establishment. They thank her and order alcoholic beverages. Meanwhile, Theodora and her friend Lucian, one of the workers, leave the hotel. The streets are very dark, and it becomes clear that they are planning something significant. Lucian injures Theodora's hand deeply as part of their plan. On the other hand, John's family is on their way back home, enjoying the pleasant weather and their special evening. Alba points out the many stars in the sky. Suddenly, John gets distracted for a moment and accidentally hits something with the car. He immediately stops and finds Theodora lying on the side of the road. They assume they hit her, unaware that it was all premeditated. The family panics, and John decides to check on the girl while instructing the others to stay in the car. However, Esther follows him and is shocked by the sight of the injury. John wants to take Theodora to the hospital, but Esther fears involving the police and insists they take her to their home instead. She wraps the wound with a tissue and convinces Theodora to come with them. Back at the villa, Esther cleans and bandages Theodora's wound using a first aid kit. Theodora notices the house is not very clean and comments on it, to which John responds that they don't focus on cleanliness during vacations as they are there to enjoy themselves. They show Theodora to the guest room and leave some money for her. Meanwhile, John cleans the car of any blood traces and asks Esther not to tell their children anything. Esther reassures him she won't. In the morning, Theodora goes to the swimming pool while Esther checks on her, only to find that she has taken the money and left. Esther feels relieved, thinking the problem is resolved quickly, unlike John, who believes the money wasn't enough and fears she might report them. Philip is upset by the idea of bribing her, feeling it's unfair, but his parents believe they gave her enough money to cover her treatment and more. Later, John decides to cook for his family, but they are interrupted by the doorbell. It's Theodora, who returns and surprises them. She praises their house and, when asked about her own home, vaguely mentions living in a poor area. She then changes the subject, revealing she lost her job because they thought she couldn't work with her injury. She asks them to hire her as a cleaner, especially since they said they don't want to waste their time cleaning. They help with cooking so they don't have to find another job, as she supports herself. John responds, saying they already have someone who helps them, but she took a day or two off and came back, so they don't need anyone. Then Esther joins in and starts speaking to her husband in German, blaming him for driving while drunk, saying that's the cause of everything that happened. John responds, reminding her that she was a witness to the accident and insisted they don't go to the hospital, which is why she's just as involved as he is. Later, he offers Esther $1,600 to leave them alone, but she refuses, assuring him that she doesn't want to blackmail them or anything, and that she genuinely needs the job. Esther agrees and allows her to stay in the guest room. Then we see Theodora unpacking her bags, joined by Alba and Philip, who want to get to know her. Alba notices that Theodora smokes and informs her that smoking is prohibited in the house, but Philip allows her to smoke by the window. It becomes clear that Theodora is trying to get closer to them as much as she can, attempting to ease their tension, especially with Alba, who seems uneasy around her. Theodora starts teaching her how to do magic tricks with her lighter and offers to let her try, but Alba refuses. They change the subject, and Theodora learns that they don't learn any language other than English because their mother believes that's the most useful for their future. It's evident that Esther is in control of nearly everything related to the children in the house. On the other hand, we see John and Esther talking, with John upset about Theodora staying in the house, thinking they shouldn't have agreed. Esther explains that she didn't want any headaches and was just trying to solve the problem. In the middle of the night, John wakes up to a loud noise. When he goes downstairs, he finds a mongoose lying on the floor and is shocked to see Theodora, who says she poisoned it because it would have broken into the house, and they wouldn't have been able to catch it. It turns out the animal is suffering and hasn't died yet, so she convinces John to kill it to put it out of its misery. For John, it's his first time doing such a thing, which makes him tense. The next day, Theodora starts cleaning the house. Esther walks in and orders her not to use the vacuum cleaner while she's in the house because the noise bothers her. She asks her to clean the children's rooms and then go get lunch supplies, reassuring her that John will drive her there. Theodora decides to start with Alba's room, taking advantage of the child's presence to talk to her and trying to get closer to her as much as possible. She manages to convince her to learn some French words. At first, Alba refuses, but Theodora skillfully persuades her. She picks up the book Alba is reading, which happens to be about Harry Potter, and starts teaching her new words from it. Then Alba asks to see her wound and is happy to find that it's starting to heal. After that, Theodora gets ready to go buy supplies with John and Philip. Along the way, they run into her friends who owns a restaurant. The two pretend not to know each other, as if they're planning something and don't want anyone to know. John decides to greet his friend and be friendly, so Theodora and Philip go along with him, looking bored as there's nothing for them to do. Meanwhile, John is thoroughly enjoying himself with his friend, singing and dancing with them. On their way back, Theodora decides to drive since John has drunk too much. Back at the house, we see Theodora trying to get closer to Philip, learning that he loves bikes. She starts asking him about the details of his bike, pretending to be interested. Then she begins preparing lunch, strangely tasting raw meat and enjoying it. She even decides to teach Alba how to use a knife and cut meat. That day, the family invites their friends Aki and Cora, who are married and have a child. The two families gather for dinner, and John and Esther reminisce about their wedding day. Esther recalls that it rained, and she was worried it would ruin the day. But the weather improved, and everything turned out beautifully. They change the subject and start discussing their financial situation. Philip feels that everything around them is unfair, saying it's not right for them to earn so much money while people like Theodora work much harder but earn very little. Theodora notices they're talking about her but doesn't understand what they're saying. Cora changes the subject, feeling annoyed with Theodora because she picked up the plates from their left side instead of their right, as she was supposed to. Esther defends her, saying it's an insignificant detail. We learn that John and Aki work in the same field as scientists conducting research. From their conversation, Esther senses that there's a problem at work and tries to understand what's going on, but they don't explain it to her. Later, she waits for the guests to leave so she can ask her husband, but he refuses to tell her, claiming it's a matter she wouldn't understand or care about, which frustrates her further. One day, the family decides to spend a day at the beach. To commemorate this day, he is also keen to photograph Theodora, who has become an essential member of the family. They arrive at the beach, and the whole family begins preparing to go into the water. However, Esther declares that she doesn't like swimming in the sea because she's afraid of it. Theodora decides not to leave her alone. Shortly after, Esther receives a call from her workplace and, as usual, becomes very frustrated and steps aside to talk. Meanwhile, it turns out that Theodora's friends are at the same beach, observing Esther from afar. Later, Esther closes her eyes, trying to enjoy the atmosphere, giving Theodora the opportunity to steal her phone from her bag. Surprisingly, Alba notices what happened but doesn't say anything. Within a minute, Esther starts looking for her phone. When she gives up, she decides to buy a new one, as she urgently needs to stay in touch with her work. Theodora offers to take her to a place she knows, seemingly aiming to undermine her trust in any way possible. Indeed, they go to buy the phone, allowing Esther to reconnect with her employees. She appears very stressed, worried that she cannot effectively manage her work while being away from the company. She decides to join Theodora and smoke cigarettes, even though she doesn't usually smoke. It becomes evident that Esther is beginning to feel more comfortable with Theodora and trust her, opening up about her life. She claims her life is free of problems, but admits she often feels ready to escape from all her responsibilities. Theodora, seeing this, tells her it's her right to take a break if she feels she needs it. At night, we see Philip lost in thought, staring at photos and videos, showing that he is infatuated with Theodora. The next day, Theodora is busy cleaning and notices Juno heading out with his bike. She stops him, pretending to be impressed by the bike and its features, acting as though she's knowledgeable about it. She repeats details about the bike she learned from Philip, such as its weight and type. Juno offers her another bike to ride alongside him, and she agrees, aiming to get closer to each of them personally to gain their trust and understand them better. When they return home, Esther is working, visibly stressed. Theodora advises her not to be too hard on herself, then leaves to sit with Philip, who asks her to take a picture together. Meanwhile, Alba decides to confront her mother about what she saw, accusing Theodora of stealing her phone. Although Esther doesn't believe her, she decides to have Alba confront Theodora about it, wanting to understand why her daughter would say such a thing. Theodora denies the accusation and questions Alba about the reasons behind her claim. Alba feels shocked and hurt by her life, and upset that even her mother doesn't believe her. Esther apologizes on behalf of her daughter, but Theodora continues her strange behavior. Later, Theodora intentionally reopens an old wound on herself, alarming Esther with the sight of blood. Esther decides to bandage the wound again and invites Theodora out for dinner. Theodora is thrilled and quickly grabs her phone to send several messages, as if planning something. During dinner, Theodora takes advantage of Esther's growing trust and lies, claiming she was cleaning Alba's closet and found the missing phone, thus clearing herself of suspicion and making Esther further doubt her daughter's credibility. We also learn that the dress Theodora is wearing belongs to Esther, who thinks it suits Theodora more and decides to gift it to her. Later, Theodora takes Esther to a bar she frequents, where they meet her friends, including Lucian, who starts getting closer to Esther. Although she isn't interested in him, she decides to dance with him and enjoy the night to escape her responsibilities. Meanwhile, we see Juno sitting at home, feeling sad, ignoring numerous messages from Aki. The next day, Esther and Theodora go to the beach with Theodora's friends. As usual, Esther refuses to enter the water, but Lucian persistently convinces her, assuring her he won't leave her alone. She eventually agrees, and they have a great time. However, at one point, without anyone noticing, someone is pulled underwater as if dragged by something. The incident happens so quickly that no one realizes it. Later, the group leaves the water, and one of them prepares grilled food for everyone. They notice someone is missing, but they claim it's just one person. It turns out the missing person wasn't part of their group, and we infer that they kidnapped her and cooked her, but Esther remains oblivious. Afterward, Esther and Theodora return home, with Esther feeling very happy about the day and thanking Theodora. The next morning, Aki visits Juno's house, but Juno isn't there, seemingly avoiding him. Aki calls Alba, asking her to inform her father that they need to talk as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Juno is out with Theodora, running errands. As usual, Theodora uses the opportunity to her advantage, trying to find out what's bothering him. Juno reveals that Esther is a strict and controlling person who only focuses on herself, constantly criticizing him. Theodora reassures him, saying he is smart and strong, and that Esther could never succeed without him. At the same time, Esther searches her daughter's room and is shocked to find her phone among her clothes, leaving her unsure of how to handle the situation. While she's contemplating, Alba surprises her by saying she saw Theodora stealing from her again, this time from her clothes. Esther, curious about her daughter's accusations, asks her why she's accusing Theodora, but Alba becomes upset that her mother doesn't believe her and walks away without explaining further. Esther seizes the opportunity of Juno being home to talk to him, informing him that Aki came to ask about him. This time, she insists on knowing what's going on. Juno admits that they suspect him of falsifying results in his latest research and want to fire him. He also confesses that what bothers him most is that Esther no longer trusts him or his work as she used to, making him feel like he's losing confidence in himself. It's revealed that he did indeed falsify the results, which has shaken his self-esteem to the point that he can't even perform his work properly. Esther is shocked and doesn't know how to respond. As usual, Theodora takes advantage of their conflicts to get closer to each of them. She sits with Esther, handing her a message from Lucian, in which he expresses that she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen, and that he can't forget her. Esther is moved and immediately agrees to meet him. Meanwhile, Juno goes for a run, clearly stressed and unable to focus on anything else due to his work issues. Philip, on the other hand, can't stop thinking about Theodora, feeling conflicted and unable to share his feelings with anyone, and that's why he shouts at Alba, which wants to sleep with her in the room, and with her affairs, she returns to her room. At dawn, we see Esther sneaking out quietly after she called Lucien and agreed to meet him. She goes out and finds him and the rest of his gang waiting for her. We learn that she sent a message to John saying she needed some time for herself. The whole family gathers for breakfast, feeling upset about the state they've reached. John offers Theodora to have breakfast with them, and she agrees. She asks him if a friend of hers could visit her at home, and he agrees immediately without hesitation. During this time, Alba calms down, and she spends most of her time alone because no one is left for her. After a while, the ball arrives, which is supposed to meet John and the boys. After receiving a message from Esther saying she will be away for a while, John guesses it's all because of their last discussion, upsetting the kids. They don't understand anything but remain upset, especially Alba, which feels like she's losing everyone all at once. Despite the father's attempts to reassure them, they stay worried. Alba asks about the duration of her mother's absence, and John guesses it will be a few days before she returns to normal. But even this answer doesn't comfort her. She waits for the boys to leave and tries to get closer to John, revealing they have a relationship. However, John tries to avoid her, especially since Theodora and her friend are nearby. The ball comments on the space Theodora has taken in the house, feeling like she's acting as part of the family, which isn't right. However, John has much bigger problems to deal with and ignores her advice. Meanwhile, Esther is enjoying her time with Lucian. At night, we see Alba sitting in her room, trying to distract herself with anything. She reads a book, and Theodora knocks on her door. Alba responds, saying she wants to sleep, but Theodora enters anyway, knowing she is lying. She tries to start a conversation by asking how far she's gotten in the book. She notices Alba is scared to sleep alone, so she starts playing with her hair to help her sleep. It becomes clear that Alba is very happy that someone is finally paying attention to her. On the other hand, Philip is preoccupied with thoughts of Theodora and starts looking for her everywhere until he finds her in her room. He takes out his phone to take a picture of her without her noticing, but Theodora catches him and seems to have expected such behavior. She calmly tells him to return to his room, making Philip feel embarrassed. He takes his bike and leaves the house. During this time, Esther wakes up to drink water. She goes to the kitchen, opens the fridge, and is surprised to find a large amount of meat divided into bags. She's very curious to know what it's all about. She's startled by Lucian, who also woke up, and he explains that he likes to keep large quantities of meat for the barbecues he and his friends have. Esther advises him to put it in the freezer because it's starting to smell bad. Although she doesn't believe his words, she doesn't suspect anything either. She leaves and goes back to sleep. Lucien, however, watches her from afar, seemingly planning something, hinting that she may be his new victim. The next day, Theodora enters John's room while he is staring out the window, lost in thought. She apologizes for startling him. John appears upset about the idea of her friends being in his house all the time, but he doesn't say anything because he's preoccupied with other issues. Theodora tells him that she and her friends have been invited to a friend's birthday party and asks him to join them, but he refuses. Alba then tries to talk to her father, showing him a new trick she learned with a lighter. He becomes very worried about her and takes the lighter away, upsetting her even more. When she tries to talk to him, he asks her to postpone the conversation for another time. At night, Lucian prepares for the birthday party and decides to take Esther with him. She seems very hesitant, especially when she sees the place, but Lucian insists until she agrees. There, we see the whole gang, including Theodora, who is on her way. Esther meets a young man at the party and learns from him that the birthday girl works at the restaurant in the Fontaine Hotel and that Lucien and the rest of the gang also work there. She recalls seeing Lucien there before. From that moment, she becomes wary and starts observing them. Later, the young man excuses himself to leave, and Esther takes out her phone to send John a message, saying she's coming back soon. She then asks to use the bathroom, feeling terrified of everyone at the party and unsure of what to do after what she has learned. She sees blood coming out of the wall and is horrified. On her way out, she witnesses the most terrifying scene of her life. They kill the young man she was talking to earlier, and one of the gang members starts eating him. Esther runs toward the door to escape, but is stopped by Theodora, who has just arrived. Esther is devastated, thinking they were true friends. But Theodora tells her they were never friends and that everything she did was to take revenge on them after they abandoned her during the accident, caring only about themselves. They kill Esther, and she meets the same fate as the young man. Meanwhile, John is asleep at home with the ball beside him. In the middle of the night, he wakes up to find Theodora and her friends playing. He angrily confronts her for allowing them to enter at such a late hour without his permission. Despite Theodora's apology, they continue playing as soon as he leaves. The ball decides to go home due to the noise, surprised that he didn't fire her. Later, we see John checking out the pest problem on the roof, but Theodora stops him. She's standing with her friends, seemingly planning something. Without any warning, they kill him. Shortly after, Philip returns from his walk around the house and sees Theodora and her friends sleeping by the pool, with Alba sleeping among them. He tries to wake her up but fails, so he leaves her and goes inside the house. Philip is happy to find plenty of food in the kitchen. He takes a piece of meat and heats it up. While eating, he is shocked to find something stuck in his throat. The surprise is that it's his father's wedding ring. He realizes they killed and cooked his father and is left in shock. During this time, Theodora and her friends are escaping from the house, taking Alba with them, but we don't know what her fate will be. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates.